Do you have any questions for me? This is a question that's going to happen in every single interview, so you might as well have a good answer for it. Do you have any questions for me? Every single interviewer will ask this question at your next interview. So you might as well have a couple answers lined up ahead of time so that you can stand out as the one candidate who asked very thought-provoking questions. Or at least not stand out as the shit candidate who didn't ask any. Now, I'm not saying you should ask the same blanket questions at the end of every single interview, right? You gotta diversify, you gotta mix it up, you gotta have them unique to that specific job, which I know kind of sucks. But really, there's two reasons why we ask these questions. One is to actually get answers, which you never know what answers they will have already answered throughout the interview process. But the second one is so that we actually look good, right? We want to ask insightful questions that make them think, wow, this person knows how to ask questions, or something like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first one, where we actually want some answers to questions that we should rightfully ask. It is entirely possible, or probable, if you've watched my other videos, that you have nailed the sales pitch for your job. You've gotten it all the way to the end, you've crushed every interview question, and they want to give you the job. But this needs to be more about just them asking you questions. It needs to be you asking them questions. You need to be judging them as much as they are judging you. This needs to be about you getting all the information you need to figure out if this job is a good fit for you and if it's even a job that you really want. The best way to do this is to get the interviewer talking openly and candidly about the company, the job position, their expectations of the candidate. And we're gonna do that by asking thought-provoking questions. And just in case you didn't know, yes or no questions are not good questions. They are bad questions. Right? So we're gonna ask thought-provoking questions, very generally open-ended questions where they can actually spend some time describing something, where you're gonna get a thought-out answer rather than just some canned answer thrown back at you. Questions like, I've been over the job description and I was actually wondering if you could explain this role in your own words and what your expectations are for a future candidate. Now, listen carefully to this question because it is going to give you everything you need to know about what the hiring manager is looking for and what he really cares about when he's looking to fill this role. We all know there's a lot of nice to haves and fluff when it comes to job descriptions, right? But by asking this question, you're gonna get to pinpoint the exact things that the hiring manager cares about. You can find the specific responsibilities and tasks that you'll need to be able to accomplish so that you can really succeed in this role if you were to get it. Another question that will get you some insight into not only this role, but some insight into the context around the vacancy is what makes this position available. Now, the answer to this question might come up throughout your interview without you having to ask it. So use your best judgment on whether or not it's worth asking a question at the end. You really only get 2 to 3 good questions at the end of an interview, so you really need to moderate what you're going to ask and when you're going to ask it. But if this answer has not come up, consider asking it, because knowing your environment, knowing what you're getting yourself into is critical if you're going to succeed at this company and really will be one of the deciding factors in whether or not you choose to take this job in the first place. This is one of those questions where it's important that we ask because it's actually important that we know the answer. For example, if this is a new role or a new position and they're hiring for the first time, or maybe they relocated to a different town and they're hiring up new individuals for this company, well then sure, that's one thing. But like if the last 6 people who had this job, this specific role, all left within 2 weeks because they had anxiety attacks or they all got fired for some inexplicable reason, then those are things that you need to watch out for, and that's why we ask this question. There's a laundry list of wonderful questions that you can ask to get a good feel for the company culture, the job role, the manager, right? All these things. So let's walk through a couple of these questions and why they are actually valuable to ask. What are your expectations of the new hire in the first 30, 60, or 90 days? This shows that you actually care about how to succeed in the job and not just getting the job, which is something the hiring manager is going to notice. It also might get into some things that you're interested in, like training, for example. Can you describe in your own words what this job's day-to-day tasks look like? This is great because it's going to be more in-depth than just the job description, because you're never going to get this from the job description. We kind of went over that earlier. It's always good to get the hiring manager's perspective on what these actual daily tasks look like, because what the hiring manager thinks your daily tasks look like is what your daily tasks look like. And it's super important to get that perspective before getting into the job so you don't get blindsided on day one. How do you feel your company compares to some of its closest competitors? This one's kind of a twist on what do you like about this job, right? But it gets the manager talking about stuff they wouldn't normally talk about otherwise. It also helps you answer the question, why should I work here instead of some other company in a similar role? This next question is going to be, what are some of the Hey there. Hey there. You're getting a little ahead of yourself, aren't you? What are some of the challenges you feel like this job role faces? Now, this is critical to know because, yeah, you might know how to succeed, but you also want to know what some of the pitfalls are that you might face as you consider taking this job position. Oh, it's already there. Okay. What are some of the other teams that your team works closely with on a day-to-day basis? Now, this is great because you're never working in isolation. You're always going to be communicating with other teams, and that is already there. Okay, so where do you see your team and your company moving forward? We kind of already touched on this, but it's great to know the direction of, yeah, so similar to that, what are some of the projects you're currently working on? Now, this is good for insight into currently what they're doing and also what you might be expected to, okay, all right, well, I guess there's not getting around that. So how have previous employees succeeded in this job role? Okay, and we're just moving on. All right, I guess that's what we're doing now. What is the size of the team that, okay, all right. What's the company culture? Yep, okay, all right. Another strategy you can take when asking these questions at the end of an interview is just ask a really good question. Ask a question that makes the interviewer go, wow, this guy knows how to ask questions. Whew, that is a thought-provoking question that makes me want to hire them right away, because that's the kind of person we need on our team. That's the kind of person that we need thinking day to day on our team that will make them better. This is the kind of thought-provoking, value-adding person that our team needs to succeed. Okay, they probably won't say that, but use this opportunity anyways. Take this opportunity to ask good questions that they will remember you by, right? It's not far-fetched for them to remember you because you asked such a thought-provoking question, right? They're asking the same questions to everybody all the time. Really, the only things that help you stand out are when you are significantly different than the others. And this is a perfect opportunity because you're the one asking the questions. So take this opportunity. This is an important question. It's not just a throwaway question like a lot of people think it is. So let's go ahead and walk through a couple of these questions now. How do you feel your job role has evolved over time? This is a great one just to get the interviewer talking about themselves. Everyone loves talking about themselves. And if they're having a good time at the interview, well, that's better for you. How do you feel that this specific role fits in with the vision of the company overall? This one is great because it shows that you're a big thinker. Right? It shows that you are strategic. You care not just about the job role you're going for, but how it fits into the company overall. It also shows that you have done a little bit of research on the company before you got here, hopefully making you stand out amongst the candidates. The only caveat to that is you need to have actually done a little bit of research before showing up to the interview. What are the metrics that success in this position will be measured by? Hiring managers love data-driven individuals because they love metrics and numbers because that's where they get their funding, right? So if you can show them that you love numbers and metrics, they will love you. In the same way the interviewer is going to religiously end their interview with, do you have any questions for me? You should probably think about ending your Q&A with the question, what are the next steps in the hiring process? Now, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult and awkward to go back to asking other questions once you've asked this one. So be sure to end your interview with this question. Don't just throw it in the middle, right? The reason we ask what the next steps are in the hiring process is not because it's going to win us any points. It's because we actually need to know the answer. We need to know where we are in the hiring process. They're going to have us wait 2, 3, 4 weeks or whatever between interviews. then we deserve to know where we are in that hiring process. They should respect your time, and you should respect your time enough to ask this question to know exactly what to expect moving forward. And if you want to know more about what to expect at your next job interview, subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos like this one right here. Yep, you can click on it. Pretty sure it works. I haven't tried, but it should work. It should work.